The world appeared before them like a dream made real. Taiho pressed his face against the window and stared at the impossible beauty below. The planet was covered in forests of trees that looked like crystal. They caught the light of the distant sun and scattered it into rainbows that danced across the surface. The oceans were not blue like Earth's oceans. They glowed with soft, golden light, like liquid sunshine had pooled in the valleys and basins of the world. "This is beautiful," Velith whispered beside him. "I have traveled across the galaxy and seen hundreds of worlds. None of them look like this. This world has been hidden from the galaxy for 10,000 years, Echo explained. The Lumini removed it from all star maps and surrounded it with shields that bend light and signals around it. No one could find it unless they already knew it was here." The ship descended through the atmosphere. The crystal trees grew larger as they dropped lower. Taiho saw that each tree was hundreds of meters tall. Their branches reached toward the sky like arms raised in prayer. Between them, strange animals moved through the rainbow light. They looked like deer made of silver, like birds made of flame. The ship landed in a clearing near the shore of one of the golden oceans. When the door opened, Taiho stepped out and breathed air that tasted like honey and flowers. The ground beneath his feet was soft moss that glowed faintly green. "Where is Aura?" he asked. Echo's voice came from the ship behind him. "Follow the shore to the north. There is a structure built into the cliff face. She waits inside." Taiho and Velith walked together along the glowing ocean's edge. The water lapped gently at the shore, and where it touched the moss, tiny sparks of light flew up like fireflies. Everything on this world seemed alive with energy and beauty. After 20 minutes of walking, they saw it. A doorway carved into a white cliff. The stone around the doorway was covered in the same symbols that decorated the Lumini ship. Light pulsed gently from within. They entered. The passage led deep into the cliff, curving downward in a gentle spiral. The walls were smooth and warm to the touch. More floating lights accompanied them, drifting around their heads like curious creatures. Then the passage opened into a vast chamber. Taiho stopped and felt his breath catch in his throat. A woman stood in the center of the room. She was tall and slender, with skin like polished moonstone. Her hair was long and white and floated around her as if she were underwater. Her eyes were pure silver, with no pupils or irises. Just endless reflective surfaces that seemed to hold entire universes within them. She was the most beautiful and the most alien thing Taiho had ever seen. "You came," the woman said. Her voice was like music, like wind through crystal chimes. "I have waited so long. I almost stopped believing this day would arrive." Velith dropped to her knees. "You are Aura, the last of the Lumini. I never thought I would meet one of the Ancient Ones." "Stand, child of the Sorani," Aura said gently. "I am not a god. I am simply old and very tired." Her silver eyes turned to Taiho. "And you are the human, the one my people saw in their visions. The one who carries the weight of fate on shoulders that were never meant for such burdens." Taiho did not know what to say. He was a mechanic from Bizan. He fixed engines and pipes and broken machines. He was not prepared to stand before an ancient being and discuss the fate of the galaxy. "I do not know if I am the right person for this," he admitted. Aura smiled. It was a sad smile, heavy with 10,000 years of loneliness. "That is exactly why you are the right person," she said. "Those who seek power are never fit to hold it. Those who carry burdens unwillingly are the ones who carry them best." She gestured, and a pedestal rose from the floor. On it sat a small object that looked like a glass sphere filled with swirling light. The light moved and shifted like a living thing, like emotions given physical form. "This is what my people created," Aura said. "We called it the Heart of Connection. It is not a weapon in the way most species understand weapons. It does not kill. It does not destroy. It does something far more powerful. What does it do? Velith asked. When activated, it creates a wave that spreads across space. Everyone touched by this wave will feel what others feel. True empathy. Total understanding. For a few moments, every being in range will experience the joy and pain and fear and love of every other being. They will understand, truly understand, what their actions do to others. Taiho stared at the sphere. That would end wars. Yes, it would. When a soldier feels the fear of the person they are about to kill, they cannot pull the trigger. When a leader feels the suffering of those they oppress, they cannot continue. The heart of connection does not change minds through force. It changes hearts through truth. Then why did your people not use it? Taiho asked. Why did the Lumini still go extinct? Aura's smile faded. Pain crossed her ancient face. Because the heart requires a living mind to power it. The device must channel through a consciousness. It must process all those emotions through a single being. My people tried. Many volunteered. But the weight of a galaxy's emotions was too much. Every Lumini who attempted to activate the device was destroyed. Our minds were too fragile, too sensitive. But humans are different, Taiho said slowly. He was beginning to understand. Yes, humans carry emotional weight that would crush any other species. You experience love that breaks your hearts and keep living. You feel grief that tears you apart and still wake up the next morning. You carry anger and joy and sorrow and hope all at once, and you call it normal life. Your minds are built to survive the impossible. The chamber shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. A distant rumble echoed through the stone. Velith's face went pale. They found us. The Kethrani found us. Aura closed her eyes for a moment. Commander Drax. He has been tracking the ship's energy signature across folded space. It took him longer than I expected, but he is persistent. Another explosion, closer this time. The Kethrani were bombarding the planet from orbit, trying to force them out. We need to leave, Velith said urgently. We need to take the device and run. There is nowhere to run, Aura replied calmly. Drax will follow wherever we go. He will never stop hunting. The only way to end this is to use the heart. Here, now. She picked up the sphere and held it out to Taiho. The choice is yours, human. You can take this and run, and perhaps you will survive for a while longer. Or you can use it here and feel the emotions of every being in range. The Kethrani fleet. My dying world. The galaxy itself. It may save everything, or it may destroy you. Taiho looked at the sphere. The light inside swirled faster, as if it could sense what was coming. The ceiling above them cracked. Light poured through as Kethrani landing craft descended through the broken stone. Soldiers dropped into the chamber, their weapons raised. And behind them came Drax himself. He was massive. His armor was black and covered in spikes. His face was hidden behind a helmet with glowing red eyes. When he spoke, his voice shook the walls. Found you at last. He stepped forward, soldiers parting around him like water around a stone. The Serani. The human. And what is this? Illumini? I thought your kind was dead. One remains, Aura said. She did not seem afraid. And that is enough. Drax laughed. Enough for what? You are old and weak. Your people are dust. And that little toy you are holding will not save you. He raised a weapon and pointed it at Aura. Give me the device, and I will make your deaths quick. Resist, and I will make them last for days. Taiho stepped forward. Wait. The human speaks. Drax's red eyes focused on him. You should have taken my deal when I offered it. Now you will die on a forgotten world with these alien women. What a waste. I want to understand something, Taiho said. His voice was calm, even though his heart was racing. Why? Why do you want this war? What do you gain from burning the galaxy? Drax was silent for a moment. Then he spoke, and there was something strange in his voice. Something almost like pain. Because the galaxy is weak. Because species like the Serani sit and talk while worlds suffer. Because someone needs to bring order. Someone needs to be strong enough to rule. The Kethrani will burn away the weakness and build something better from the ashes. That is not strength, Taiho said quietly. That is fear. You are afraid of a galaxy you cannot control, so you want to destroy it. Drax's weapon rose. I have heard enough. He fired. The blast hit Aura in the chest. She stumbled backward, the sphere falling from her hands. Taiho caught it before it hit the ground. Aura collapsed, blue light spilling from her wound. No. Velith screamed. Taiho knelt beside Aura. Her silver eyes were dimming. Her mouth moved, trying to form words. He leaned close to hear. You already know what to do, she whispered. You have always known. Then her eyes went dark, and the last Lumini died. Taiho stood. The sphere glowed in his hands, pulsing with light that matched his heartbeat. Around him, Kethrani soldiers aimed their weapons. Drax stood before him, his weapons still smoking. Give me the device, Drax commanded. Now, Taiho looked at the sphere. He looked at Velith, who was staring at him with tears running down her blue face. He looked at Drax and his army of killers. He thought about his mother. He thought about home. He thought about all the people across the galaxy who would die if the Kethrani won Dot. Then he made his choice. He raised the sphere above his head and closed his eyes. I hope I am strong enough, he whispered. And he activated the Heart of Connection. The inside of the Lumini ship was like nothing Taiho had ever seen. The walls were smooth and white and seemed to breathe with soft light. There were no sharp corners, no visible wires or panels. Everything flowed together like it had been grown rather than built. The air smelled clean and sweet, like flowers after rain. Velith walked behind him, her golden eyes wide with wonder. She reached out to touch the wall, and her fingers passed through empty air where solid material should have been. This is impossible, she whispered. This technology is beyond anything in the galaxy. The Lumini truly were gods among us. Taiho moved forward through a curved hallway until he reached what had to be the control room. A single chair sat in the center, surrounded by floating lights that drifted like fireflies. When he stepped into the room, the lights gathered around him and pulsed gently. The soft voice spoke again. Please sit, human. We have much to discuss, and there is little time. Who are you? Taiho asked. I am the memory of those who came before. You may call me Echo. I was created by the Lumini to wait for this moment. To wait for you. Taiho sat in the chair. It molded itself to his body like it had been made specifically for him. The floating lights drew closer. I do not understand, he said. Why would an ancient species build a ship and wait 10,000 years for a human? Humans did not even exist in space back then. We were still living in caves. The Lumini could see fragments of the future, Echo explained. Not all of it, not clearly, but enough to know that certain moments would come. Certain choices would matter more than others. They saw their own extinction coming. They could not stop it. But they saw something else too. They saw a crossroads in time. A single point where the fate of the entire galaxy would depend on one being making one choice. Velith stepped forward. And that being is human? Yes. The Lumini saw that humanity would rise. They saw that your species carried something unique. Something no other species in the galaxy possessed. They called it the weight of feeling. The ability to carry emotion like a burden and still walk forward. To know pain and still choose love. To see darkness and still reach for light. Tai-Ho shook his head. That sounds nice, but I'm just a mechanic. I fix broken engines. I am no one special. You are exactly who you need to be, Echo replied. The Lumini did not choose a warrior or a king. They chose an ordinary person with an extraordinary heart. That is what this moment requires. The ship shuddered. On a display screen that appeared from nowhere, Tai-Ho saw the Kethrani soldiers flooding into Station Omega-9. Commander Drax was leading them personally. His massive armored form pushing through doorways meant for smaller beings. We need to leave now, Velas said urgently. They will find the passage to this room soon. Where do we go? Tai-Ho asked Echo. I have coordinates programmed into my systems. They lead to a world outside map space. There you will find Aura, the last living Lumini. She has waited 10,000 years, preserved by technology that no longer exists anywhere else. She holds the key to stopping the Kethrani and preventing the war that will consume the galaxy. Then take us there. The ship responded before Tai-Ho finished speaking. The walls shifted. The floor hummed with energy. Through a window that had not existed a moment before, Tai-Ho saw the docking bay doors blast open. The Lumini vessel shot forward into space behind them. The Kethrani warships opened fire. Beams of red light streaked through the darkness. Any normal ship would have been destroyed in seconds, but this was not a normal ship. Lumini vessel moved like thought itself. It twisted and turned through the weapon's fire without being touched. Tai-Ho was not even controlling it. The ship was flying itself, reacting to threats faster than any living pilot could respond. Impossible! The voice was Drax, broadcast on an open channel. His rage filled the cockpit. That ship should not exist. All vessels pursue and destroy. I want that human and the Serani dead. The 5 warships turned and gave chase. They were the fastest ships in the Kethrani fleet, built for hunting and killing. But the Lumini vessel was faster. It pulled ahead, the gap between them growing with each passing second. Then it did something that made Tai-Ho's stomach drop. Space twisted. Stars stretched into lines. Reality folded in on itself. And suddenly, they were somewhere else entirely. The Kethrani ships were gone. Station Omega-9 was gone. There was only empty space and distant stars that Tai-Ho did not recognize. What just happened? He gasped. We traveled through folded space, Echo explained. A technology the Lumini developed before their end. It allows movement across vast distances in moments. The Kethrani cannot follow. They do not know how. Velith collapsed into a sitting position on the floor. Her blue skin had turned pale. We escaped. I cannot believe we escaped. Tai-Ho wanted to feel relief, but Echo's next words stopped him. The journey to Aura's world will take several hours, even at this speed. During that time, there is something you must know. Something the Lumini saw in their visions of the future. What is it? The human who sits in this chair will stand at the crossroads of fate. They will be given a choice. One path leads to salvation. The other leads to doom. The Lumini could not see which path would be chosen. They only saw that the choice would be made by a human, and that everything would depend on it. Tai-Ho felt a cold weight settle in his chest. You are saying I might doom the galaxy? I am saying you might save it. Or doom it. The choice has not been made yet. That is why it matters. Velith stood and walked to Tai-Ho's side. She placed her hand on his shoulder. Whatever this choice is, you will not face it alone, she said. You have already proven what kind of person you are. You refused to abandon me when it would have been easy. You stood against an empire for someone you barely knew. Whatever comes next, I believe in you. Tai-Ho looked at her. 93 days ago, He had been alone and forgotten on a dying station. Now, he was flying through uncharted space in an ancient ship, carrying the fate of the galaxy on his shoulders. It should have been terrifying. It was terrifying, but he was not alone anymore. That made all the difference. "Tell me about Aura," he said to Echo. "Tell me about the last Lumini and what she knows that can stop this war." As the ship flew through the empty darkness between stars, Echo told them everything. It told them about the Lumini and their gift of seeing the future. It told them about the device they had created, a weapon that was not a weapon, a tool that could end all wars without killing a single person. It told them about Aura, who had volunteered to sleep through 10,000 years of loneliness just for this moment, just for the chance that someone might come. And it told them about the Kethrani, about their empire built on fear and blood, about Commander Drax and his obsession with power, about the war they were planning, a war that would spread across every corner of the galaxy and leave nothing but ash and silence behind. When Echo finished, Taiho sat in silence for a long time. "One choice," he finally said. "One choice to save or doom everything." "Yes, and you cannot tell me what that choice is?" "No, the Lumini could only see fragments. The choice itself was hidden even from them. But they believed in humanity. They believed that when the moment came, a human would choose correctly." Taiho closed his eyes. He thought about his mother and the stories she used to tell him. Stories about heroes who did the right thing even when it was hard. Stories about ordinary people who became extraordinary through their choices. He had always thought those were just stories. Maybe he was wrong. How much longer until we reach Aura's world? He asked. 3 hours. Taiho nodded and opened his eyes. Then we have 3 hours to rest and prepare. Because when we get there, we have a galaxy to save. Outside the window, unknown stars wheeled past in the endless night. And somewhere behind them, Commander Drax was already planning his next move. The hunt was not over. It had only just begun. The warning alarm screamed through the station like a wounded animal. Red lights flashed in every corridor. Taiho stood at the main control panel and watched the display screen with growing dread. 5 ships. 5 Kethrani warships dropping out of faster-than-light travel and moving toward Station Omega-9 like wolves circling a wounded deer. Velith stood beside him. She was still weak from her injuries, but she refused to rest. Her golden eyes were fixed on the screen, and Taiho could see the fear she was trying to hide. "They found us faster than I expected," she said quietly. "Commander Drax must be leading them personally. He does not give up easily." As if hearing his name, a voice suddenly filled the station. It was deep and harsh, like rocks grinding together. The communication system had been hijacked. "This is Commander Drax of the Kethrani Imperial Fleet. I know you are listening, Sarani. I know you are hiding on that pathetic station. You have something that belongs to my Emperor. Give it to me, and I will make your death quick." Taiho felt his hands tighten into fists. He had faced difficult situations before. He had survived storms and mechanical failures, and once even a fire in an engine room. But he had never faced an army. Drax continued speaking. "I am told there is a human on that station as well. A leftover creature from some forgotten cargo ship. Human, I offer you a deal. Give me the Sarani ambassador, and I will take you home. My ships can reach human space in 3 days. You could be back with your people by the end of the week. All you have to do is hand over the woman." Taiho looked at Velith. She met his eyes and slowly nodded. "You should accept his offer," she said. Her voice was calm, but he could see her hands trembling. "I am already dead. I knew that when I stole the evidence from the Kethrani. Your life does not have to end here. Go home, Taiho. Forget you ever met me." Taiho thought about home. He thought about the ocean in Bizon and the smell of his mother's cooking. He thought about his small apartment and his old friends and the simple life he had left behind when he joined the cargo ship. He missed it all so much that his chest ached. Then he thought about Velith. He thought about her lying on the docking bay floor, bleeding and alone. He thought about how she had looked at him when she woke up, like he was the first person in a long time who had shown her kindness. He walked to the communication panel and pressed the button to respond. "Commander Drax," he said. His voice was steady even though his heart was pounding. "My name is Yoon Taiho. I am a mechanic from Earth, and I have a message for you. Speak, human. No deal." There was a moment of silence. Then Drax laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. "You refuse? Do you understand what you are refusing? I am offering you your life, your freedom, your world. And you say no for a Sarani you have known for less than 2 days?" Taiho looked at Velith again. She was staring at him with wide eyes, like she could not believe what she was hearing. "2 days is enough," Taiho said. "Where I come from, we have a saying. We do not abandon our friends. Velith is my friend now. So you can take your deal and throw it into the nearest star." Drax's voice turned cold. "Then you will both die. I will tear that station apart piece by piece. I will find you in whatever hole you are hiding in, and I will make you watch as I kill the Sarani slowly. You had your chance, human." The communication cut off. Velith grabbed Taiho's arm. "Why did you do that? You could have gone home. You could have lived." Taiho gently removed her hand but held it for a moment before letting go. "I could not live with myself if I did," he said simply. "Now stop asking questions and help me save our lives." He ran through the station's hallways with Velith following close behind. His mind was working faster than it had in months. He knew this station better than anyone. He had spent 93 days crawling through its walls and fixing its broken systems. He knew every door, every passage, every weakness, and every weakness could be turned into a strength. "The Githrani will try to board us," he said as they ran. "Their ships are too valuable to use for ramming, and this station's hull is thick enough to survive light weapons fire. They will send soldiers through the docking bays." "There are 3 docking bays," Velith said. "We cannot defend all of them. We do not need to. We just need to slow them down." They reached the main engineering room. Taiho pulled up the station's old defense grid on the computer. It was meant to protect against space debris, not military attacks. But it still had power, and it could still hurt. He activated the grid. Outside, small defense turrets emerged from the station's hull and began firing at the approaching ships. They would not destroy the warships, but they would force them to keep their distance. Next, he sealed every docking bay except one. He welded the doors shut from the inside and jammed the mechanisms with metal bars. If the Githrani wanted to board, they would have to use the main docking bay. And that was exactly where he wanted them. "What is your plan?" Velith asked as she watched him work. "The main docking bay has an emergency airlock system. If we can get the Githrani soldiers inside and then trigger the airlock, we can blow them out into space." "That is a good plan," Velith admitted. "But what about us? Where do we go after that?" Taiho stopped working. That was the problem. Even if they survived the first wave of soldiers, more would come. The station had no weapons strong enough to fight warships. They were trapped, unless they were not. "Come with me," he said. "There is something I need to show you." He led her down into the lowest level of the station. This area had been sealed when he first arrived. The doors were locked with codes that no longer existed in any database. But Taiho had spent weeks cutting through those doors out of boredom. He had wanted to see what was hidden down there. What he had found made no sense. And now, maybe, it was their only hope. They stepped through the final door and into a vast, empty room. In the center of that room sat a ship. It was beautiful in a way that made Taiho's chest tight. The hull was white and gold and seemed to glow with its own inner light. Strange symbols covered every surface. The design was unlike anything he had ever seen. It was not human. It was not Kethrani. It was not Soran. I thought it was something much, much older. Velith gasped. Her hand flew to her mouth. That is impossible, she whispered. That is a Lumini vessel. What are the Lumini? They were an ancient species, the oldest in the galaxy. They disappeared 10,000 years ago. No one knows why. But their technology... She shook her head in disbelief. Their technology was far beyond anything that exists today. Taiho, this ship should not be here. It should not exist. The station shook as the Kethrani began their assault. Explosions echoed through the walls. Time was running out. Does it work? Taiho asked. Can we fly it? I do not know. I do not even know how to open the door. Taiho walked toward the ship. He did not know why, but something pulled him forward. Something felt right about this. When he reached the hull, he placed his hand against the smooth white surface. Light exploded around him. The ship hummed to life. A door opened in the side, revealing a passage into the interior. Lights flickered on throughout the vessel. A soft voice spoke in a language Taiho did not understand, then switched to his own. Welcome, human. I have been waiting for you. Velith stared at him with shock and wonder. It responded to you, she said. It did not respond to me at all. Only to you. Above them, the station groaned and shuddered. The Kethrani were breaking through. Soldiers would be flooding the hallways soon. Taiho looked at Velith. He looked at the ancient ship that had somehow been waiting for him. He thought about the impossible situation they were in. Then he smiled. I think we just found our way out, he said. He took Velith's hand and pulled her toward the ship. Behind them, the sound of Kethrani boots echoed in the hallways. The hunt was closing in. But the prey had found something the hunters never expected. An ancient ship. A 10,000-year-old secret. And a human who, for reasons he did not yet understand, held the key to everything. Light exploded from the sphere. It was not ordinary light. It was alive. It was warm. It poured out of Taiho's hands and washed over everything in the chamber. The Kethrani soldiers stumbled backward. Drax raised his arm to shield his eyes. Velith fell to her knees, her mouth open in silent wonder. The light did not stop at the walls of the chamber. It passed through stone like water through sand. It rose up through the broken ceiling and into the sky. It spread across the crystal forests and the golden oceans. It reached the Kethrani fleet hanging in orbit. And then it kept going, faster than any ship could fly, spreading outward into the endless darkness of space. And Taiho felt everything. It started small. A child on a distant moon, dreaming of flying. Her joy was like sunshine inside his chest. Then came more. A mother holding her newborn baby for the first time. Her love was so powerful it made him cry. A soldier watching his best friend die in battle. His grief was a knife through Taiho's heart. An old man looking at stars and wondering if anyone would remember him. His loneliness was cold and heavy. More and more came. Billions of minds, billions of lives, each one carrying their own weight of emotion, joy and pain, hope and fear, love and hate. All of it poured into Taiho's mind like a river trying to fit through a drinking straw. It should have destroyed him. Aura had said it destroyed the Lumini. Their minds were too sensitive. They felt too deeply and broke under the weight. But Taiho was human. Humans were strange creatures. They fell in love knowing that love could break them. They made friends knowing that friends could leave. They built homes knowing that homes could burn. They carried grief like a stone in their pocket and kept walking anyway. They looked at a universe that did not care about them and decided to care anyway. Taiho had learned this growing up. He had lost his father when he was young. He had watched his mother work 3 jobs to keep food on the table. He had failed tests and lost games and had his heart broken by people he thought would stay forever. And each time, he had picked himself up and kept going. That was what humans did. They endured. They survived. They carried weight that should crush them and somehow found the strength to take one more step. So when the emotions of a galaxy poured through him, Taiho did not break. He bent. He strained. He screamed without making a sound. But he held on. Around him, the Kethrani soldiers had fallen to their knees. Their weapons lay forgotten on the ground. Tears streamed down alien faces that had been trained never to cry. They were feeling it too. Not as strongly as Taiho, but enough. For the first time in their lives, they understood what their wars had done. One soldier saw through the eyes of a child whose parents he had killed. Another felt the terror of a species his fleet had destroyed. A third experienced the grief of a widow whose husband had died defending his home from Kethrani invasion. They wept. They screamed. Some of them collapsed entirely, their minds unable to process what they were feeling. And Drax stood alone. The commander had not fallen. His massive armored form remained standing through sheer will. But his helmet had been torn off, and Taiho could see his face for the first time. It was not the face of a monster. It was the face of a man. A man with gray skin and tired eyes. A man who had lines around his mouth that might have been from smiling once, long ago. A man who was crying. "What is this?" Drax whispered. His voice was broken. "What are you doing to me?" Taiho could see into Drax's mind now. He saw the truth that the commander had hidden even from himself. Drax had been a child once. He had been weak and scared and bullied. His father had beaten him for crying. His world had taught him that kindness was weakness, that mercy was failure, that the only way to survive was to become the thing everyone feared. So he had. He had buried the frightened child deep inside and built a monster over it. But the child was still there. Still hiding. Still afraid. "You feel what they feel," Taiho said. His voice came from far away. He was barely holding on. "You feel the pain you caused. The fear, the loss, all of it." Drax fell to his knees. The mighty commander of the Kethrani fleet knelt in the dust like a broken child. "I did not know," he whispered. "I told myself it was necessary. I told myself they were weak and deserved what they got. But I did not know. I did not feel. Now you do." The light was fading. The wave had spread as far as it would go. Taiho felt the connection weakening. The billions of minds were slipping away, returning to their own bodies, their own lives. But they would remember. Everyone touched by the wave would remember what it felt like to truly understand another being. Taiho collapsed. Velith caught him before he hit the ground. She held him in her arms and checked his pulse. It was weak but steady. He was alive. "You did it," she whispered. Tears were still running down her face. "You impossible, stubborn, beautiful human. You did it." Around them, the Kethrani soldiers were slowly standing. They looked at each other with new eyes. They looked at Velith with shame instead of hatred. One by one, they dropped their weapons and walked away. Drax remained on his knees. He stared at the ground, unable to meet anyone's eyes. What do we do with him? Velith asked. Taiho opened his eyes. He was exhausted beyond anything he had ever felt. But he managed to speak. Nothing. He has to live with what he felt. That is punishment enough. Days passed. The Kethrani fleet withdrew from Aura's world. Word spread across the galaxy of what had happened. The wave had touched thousands of inhabited worlds. Billions of beings had experienced the connection. And slowly, everything began to change. The Kethrani Empire did not collapse overnight, but it began to fracture. Soldiers refused to fight. Officers questioned orders. Colonies that had been A Prest rose up, and this time, the soldiers sent to crush them laid down their weapons instead. On dozens of worlds, old enemies met and talked instead of fighting. Species that had hated each other for generations found themselves able to understand why the other side felt the way they did. Peace talks that had failed for decades suddenly succeeded. And at the center of it all was a story. A story about a human mechanic who had been stranded on a dying station. A human who had helped a stranger because helping was the right thing to do. A human who had refused to abandon his friend even when Empire offered him everything he wanted. A human who had taken the weight of a galaxy on his shoulders and survived. 1 year later, Taiho stood in the great hall of the newly formed Galactic Council. Representatives from hundreds of species filled the chamber. Velith stood at his side, now serving as the Sarani ambassador to this new age of cooperation. Even Drax was there. The former commander had spent the year dismantling his own empire's worst weapons. He would never be forgiven for what he had done, but he was trying to build something better from the ashes. Ambassador Yoon, the council chair called out. You are the first human to hold this position, the first human to address this assembly. Do you have words for us? Taiho looked out at the gathered species, so many different faces, so many different lives, all connected now by something that went beyond politics or treaties. I am not a hero, he said. His voice carried through the silent hall. I am a mechanic from a small planet at the edge of the galaxy. A year ago, I was alone and forgotten. Then a stranger crashed into my life, and I made a choice. I chose to help her. Not because I expected anything in return. Not because I thought it would change the galaxy. I helped her because she needed help, and I could give it. He paused. The hall was silent. That is all any of us can do. Make small choices. Choose kindness when cruelty is easier. Choose connection when isolation is safer. Choose to help even when helping costs us something. These small choices add up. They ripple outward in ways we cannot predict. One moment of compassion can change a life. One life can change a world. One world can change a galaxy. He looked at Velith and smiled. 2 days is enough. One moment is enough. You just have to choose. The hall erupted in applause, but Taiho barely heard it. He was thinking about his mother back on Earth, who would finally get to see her son again. He was thinking about Aura, who had waited 10,000 years for someone to carry her people's hope into the future. He was thinking about all the ordinary people across the galaxy who would wake up tomorrow and make their own small choices. And across the stars, species who had never thought much about humans before began to whisper a new word. Not conquerors, not warriors, not even heroes. Something simpler. Something that scared those who thrived on division and hatred. Bridge builders. Taiho looked out the great window at the stars beyond. Somewhere out there, on a forgotten station at the edge of known space, his story had begun. Now it was woven into something larger, something that would echo across time. One human had altered the fate of an entire galaxy. Not through strength or power or weapons stock, through the simple, stubborn, impossibly human choice to care. Yoon Taiho had not seen another living person in 93 days. He kept count by scratching marks on the wall of his small sleeping room. Each morning, he would add one more line and wonder if today would be the day someone came to rescue him. Each night, he would go to sleep knowing that no one was coming. Station Omega-9 floated at the edge of known space like a forgotten toy. It was old and broken and should have been destroyed years ago. But someone in the Galactic Trade Authority had forgotten to file the paperwork, so it remained. Taiho had been a mechanic on a cargo ship called the Silver Wind. 3 months ago, his ship had stopped at this station to make emergency repairs. Then the emergency alarms had started screaming about an approaching asteroid field. The captain had panicked and ordered immediate departure. Taiho had been deep inside the station's engine room, trying to fix a broken fuel line. By the time he made it back to the docking bay, the silver wind was already a small dot disappearing into the stars. He had screamed. He had cursed. He had sent emergency signals on every channel he could find. No one answered. The station was too far from normal shipping routes. No one came to places like this unless they were lost or desperate. So Taiho learned to survive. He found old food supplies in storage rooms that had not been opened in decades. He fixed the water recycling system with parts from broken machines. He kept the life support running with prayers and duct tape and tricks he had learned from 20 years of fixing things that should not be fixable. Humans were good at that. They could make anything work if they were stubborn enough. Today was like every other day. Taiho woke up, ate a tasteless meal bar, and walked through the empty hallways to check on the station systems. His footsteps echoed in the silence. Sometimes he talked to himself just to hear a voice. Sometimes he sang old songs his mother had taught him when he was a child in Bizin. The station did not care. It just groaned and creaked like an old man with bad knees. He was in the middle of replacing a worn air filter when the station shook. The lights flickered. A sound like thunder rolled through the metal walls. Taiho grabbed a support beam and held on as the floor vibrated beneath his feet. Then silence. His heart was beating fast. In 3 months, nothing had happened on this station. Nothing changed. Nothing moved. Now something had clearly hit them. Taiho grabbed his tool bag and ran toward the docking bay. His mind raced through possibilities. Another ship? A rescue team? Or maybe just a piece of space debris that would finally kill this dying station and him along with it. The docking bay doors were jammed. He forced them open with a crowbar and stepped through the broken frame. What he saw made him stop breathing. A ship had crashed through the outer wall. Emergency barriers had sealed the breach, but the ship itself was a ruin. It was small and elegant in a way that human ships never were. The metal was silver blue and covered in symbols that Taiho did not recognize. Smoke rose from cracks in the hull. Something inside was sparking and burning. Taiho did not think. He just moved. He climbed over broken metal and torn cables until he reached the ship's hatch. It was already open, blown outward by some internal explosion. He pulled himself inside and found her. She was not human. Her skin was pale blue, almost white. Her hair was silver and fell around her face like water. She had 2 arms and 2 legs like a human, but her fingers were too long and her eyes were too large. Those eyes were closed now. Dark blood seeped from a wound on her head and another on her side. Taiho checked for a pulse. He did not know where to look on an alien body, so he pressed his fingers to her neck like he would with a human. Something beat against his fingertips. Weak and slow, but there. He carried her out of the burning ship. She weighed almost nothing. He laid her on the floor of the docking bay and ran to get his medical kit. It was a simple kit meant for human injuries. He did not know if it would work on her. He did not care. He had to try. The head wound was not deep. He cleaned it and wrapped it with bandages. The wound on her side was worse. She was losing too much blood. The blue liquid pooled on the floor beneath her. He pressed cloth against the wound, but it was not enough. Taiho looked at his own arm. He remembered something from his training years ago. Some alien species had blood that was compatible with humans. It was rare, but it happened. He did not know if this alien was one of them. He did not have time to find out. He took a needle from his kit. His hands were shaking, but he forced them to be steady. He found a vein in his arm and another in hers. The blood types might not match. This might kill her. This might kill him. But doing nothing would definitely kill her. He connected the tube and watched his blood flow from his body into hers. For a long time, nothing happened. Taiho sat on the cold floor, feeling weaker with each passing minute. His vision started to blur at the edges. He wondered if this was how he would die. Alone on a forgotten station, giving his blood to a stranger who might already be dead. Then her eyes opened. They were golden, like sunrise over the ocean. They looked at him with confusion, then fear, and something he could not name. She tried to sit up, but he gently pushed her back down. "Do not move," he said. "You are hurt." She stared at him. Her mouth opened and closed several times before words came out. You gave me your blood." Taiho nodded. He was too tired to speak much. "Why?" she asked. Her voice was soft and musical, like wind through bells. "You do not know me. You do not know my species. Why would you risk your life for a stranger?" It was a good question. Taiho thought about it for a moment. Then he shrugged. "You needed help," he said. "I could help. That is enough reason." The alien stared at him like he had said something impossible. Like he had told her that gravity worked backwards or that stars were cold. "I am Velith," she said finally. "I am an ambassador of the Sorani people." "I am Taiho," he replied. "I am a mechanic who is very far from home." Velith was quiet for a long moment. Then she spoke again, and her words made his blood turn cold. "The ship that attacked me will be tracking my signal. They are called the Kethrani, and they want me dead. They will come here soon. I am sorry, Taiho. I have brought death to your door." Taiho looked at this strange blue woman lying on his floor. He looked at the burning wreckage of her ship. He looked at the empty station that had been his prison for 3 months. "Tell me everything," he said, and she did. She told him about a war that was coming, a war that would burn across the galaxy and destroy hundreds of worlds. She told him about the Kethrani Empire and its mad desire for conquest. She told him about the evidence she carried in her ship's computer, evidence that could stop the war before it started, evidence that powerful people would kill to destroy. When she finished, Taiho sat in silence. The weight of her words pressed down on him. He was one man, one small, tired, hungry man on a broken station at the edge of nowhere. What could he possibly do against an empire? But then he looked at Velith. He saw the fear in her golden eyes. He saw the hope there too. Hope that maybe, just maybe, she had found someone who would help. Taiho stood up. His legs were weak from blood loss, but they held him. "The Kethrani are coming," he said. "Then we should get ready for them." Velith looked at him with wonder. "You would fight an empire for a stranger?" Taiho smiled. It was a tired smile, but it was real. "I have been alone for a long time," he said. "I am tired of being alone. Whatever happens next, we face it together." Outside the station, in the cold darkness of space, ships were already moving toward them. The hunt had begun.